Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited. My heart is filled with joy. I feel like a little kid on Christmas morning. We got snow last night about 5, 4. It started probably snowing around 3 or 4, somewhere around there. And then it just kind of non-stop was snowing up until late last night, and then it's snowing again this morning. It's so beautiful outside. I love snow. It makes me feel so festive. And also, it never snows that early in the year or in the season. Usually in Washington, we don't get snow until April or March, April. And so having snow in December is just super surprising and crazy. And I don't know if where you live, if you get, or if your weather is a little wonky and it just is unexpected. But for Washington, we will not get any warning usually. The weather is pretty unpredictable here. Like the other day, so today is Thursday, and on Wednesday night we had a windstorm, and we didn't have any warning for that. And then last night it's snowing, and so we didn't have any warning for that either. And let alone with how much we got, it's just crazy to. It's kind of nice because I like storms. I really enjoy them. I don't know why, but when you get like a surprise storm, it's kind of fun. But yeah, it's really fun, and it's fun to wake up to snow, especially in December. It just makes it feel so much like Christmas, and it's very magical, and I love it. And it's so beautiful outside. I have to go out there and take some pictures before it stops snowing and starts melting. My heart is so warm. It is now a few hours later. The snow is starting to melt, which is really sad. I don't think it's gonna snow anymore for the foreseeable future, but we don't know because we didn't really expect the snow in the first place. I have a big project planned for today though. I thought to myself, what can I make a video on? And then I thought, I have a bunch of garlic in the fridge, and I know, sadly, I just learned that storing garlic in the fridge is not the best thing for long term. It can go bad fairly quickly in the refrigerator. So with that being said, I need some way to preserve all this garlic because I do not want all of this going bad. I mean, this is gold to me. Onto Google I went. Ways to preserve garlic without a freeze dryer, dehydrator, canner, anything like that. Which canning garlic is a little iffy. I know it's not really recommended because of how acidic garlic is, I believe. But I still don't have a dehydrator or a freeze dryer. I wrote down a couple things that we can do, or that we are going to do with our garlic. The very first thing is obviously freezing garlic. You can definitely freeze garlic, and that's what we're gonna do today. Is we're gonna cut up a bunch of garlic and just throw it in the freezer. I think it is good for up to 6 months in the freezer. You want to make sure that it is properly stored in the freezer though. I'll leave some links below on how to properly store garlic. But the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to cut it up and put it in a freezer bag and stick it in the freezer. Write the date on there so I know when I prepared it and when it will go bad or not be good to use anymore. The second thing we're going to be doing is, I'm not going to do this until tomorrow because I have to go to the store and get some more raw honey, but I do want to make some more honey fermented garlic. That stuff is amazing. I love it so much. I'm not sure if I'm going to make another video on it because I already did, and I will leave that video also in the description box. This is the fermented garlic that I did, and it's done fermenting. There's no more bubbles, so I don't have to keep flipping it upside down and right side up. I've had a couple pieces of this. It's really strong, but it's good, surprisingly, and I haven't gotten sick this year yet. Crossing my fingers, knock on some wood. Hopefully that's real. So I want to make more of this because now this is liquid gold. I do need to look this up though and see how long fermented garlic is good for, because I'm not really sure. I'll have to do some more research on that. The next thing on our list is I want to try and make some pickled garlic, and with pickled garlic it differs from fermented garlic. The reason is because with honey fermented garlic, that can be stored at room temperature. With all of the antifungal properties and all that good stuff in garlic and honey, it's safe to keep at room temperature. But with pickled garlic, with vinegar and salt, that is not necessarily safe to keep out on your counter. It's suggested to keep it in the fridge for up to 4 months. So I want to do that, and then I also want to try and dehydrate some garlic. I know I don't have a dehydrator, but I have an oven. Why not try it, right? I mean, there's really no harm in trying. Just as long as I do it correctly, I'm sure it won't take a super long time, hopefully. The really tedious process of all this is going to be processing the garlic itself, peeling all the garlic, cutting all the garlic. That's going to be the most tedious part of this project today. I really want to get started on this project because I think it took me around 2 hours to peel, not cut, peel 5 or 6 heads of garlic. So I might even have to split this project up in a couple days. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and get started. I might be maybe halfway through the bag, maybe a little less than halfway. So we're getting there, but this isn't the worst part. The worst part is having to peel and cut. And now I'm not going to cut all of this garlic just because for at least my honey fermented garlic and my pickled garlic, I want them to be whole cloves. Some people have said that this trick works where if you put your garlic unpeeled in a jar or something with a lid and you can shake it, and it might help loosen that skin. But I've never tried it, so I don't know if it works. So the whole method of shaking the garlic in a jar, I'm not sure if I was doing it correctly, but it really didn't work for me. I think the easiest way was to just peel it normally, and this is a piece where the garlic kind of went bad in that one spot, so any piece of garlic that had a brown spot I just cut off. And so I inspected the garlic as I went, which really helped. Also, I googled if your garlic is green or turning green, then it's perfectly fine and it is perfectly safe to eat. So I didn't bother to chop any of the green pieces off because most of my garlic that I got peeled was kind of green for the most part. Not all of it, but a lot of the pieces did have big spots of green. The only pieces I cut off were the brown spots and the pieces that had a potential of going bad, and they're kind of already bad pieces or bad spots. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're peeling garlic and cutting garlic, just to make sure before anything, before you cook it, before you do any kind of pickling or drying project, you want to make sure you get those brown bits cut off so that it is safe to eat. It is about 2 to 3 hours later, and I really only got through that one pile that I initially started on. If it'll focus on, I just want to focus on the garlic. But that is my first pile. It doesn't really look like much, but it is a lot of garlic. This is all of the skin in this bowl. I realized that I will not be able to get this project done tonight, which is kind of a bummer, but that's okay. We'll trail this project into tomorrow. I will just get all of the peeling done today. I'm probably not even gonna cut any of it. Ooh, I need to cut that off. The garlic, for the most part, is pretty inspected. Any brown spots that I seen, I cut off. So it's all good and ready to get cut up or have something done with it. I do need to start on dinner. It is 5 o'clock. After dinner, I will probably finish the rest of this bag. It's probably gonna take me another couple hours to do. I'm gonna put this garlic in an airtight container. I believe it'll be okay until tomorrow. And then tomorrow, the fun stuff will begin. We'll get going on the projects and see if that dehydrating works in the oven. I'm really excited to see if that works out. I'm already tired. We are now into the next day. I unfortunately didn't get all of the garlic heads peeled and cut. I didn't get any of the garlic cloves cut or anything. This is all of the garlic that I have peeled. And then this is the garlic that I still need to peel. So really not much more. This will probably take me an hour, maybe 2 hours. But I figured we might as well start on one of our projects and have that going and working for us while we are finishing up with peeling the garlic. I think the only garlic that I'm going to be cutting is the garlic that is going to be dehydrated in the oven. I think with freezing the garlic and doing the pickled garlic, I'm not going to cut the garlic at all because I'm just going to save myself some time. I think I have saved more than enough time by peeling all of this garlic. I feel like that really saved me a lot of time because cutting these up for individual meals and stuff, it's not really going to be that much of a bother. With dehydrating garlic in your oven, I've never done it. This is going to be my first time. It's going to be an experiment. And they say that, or the recipe I'm following says that, so most ovens, they don't go lower than a certain temperature, and for dehydrating our garlic in the oven, it needs to be at a fairly low temperature. I think it's around 130. And so I do have a warm setting on my oven. I'm gonna see if it will tell me what it preheats to, or what it will be preheated at. This recipe says to preheat the convection oven to 140 degrees. I think I also saw another one that said 130, so between there, if you go any higher than that, then it'll totally just burn your garlic and it won't dehydrate it. I got to get this garlic chopped though. I think I'm just gonna try and cut it into a few different pieces. When you're dehydrating your garlic in the oven, I'm not sure if this goes for dehydrating garlic with any method or if it's just the oven, but you want to make sure you cut your garlic evenly so they're even pieces, so that there's not one piece that's thicker and there's one piece that's thinner, because the piece that's thinner will be dried first and you want them all to be done at the same time. I'm a little terrified to do a lot because if it fails, I don't want to waste all this garlic, because that would be very sad. But the important thing is we're trying to do something about it before it goes bad in the fridge. And I already mentioned that I really did not know that storing garlic long term in the fridge is just not the way you would store garlic long term. I believe the longest you can keep garlic in the refrigerator is about a week, 2 weeks. I don't know. I know I've definitely had garlic in my fridge for maybe not. I mean, we have so much garlic. We eat so much garlic, so I'm not even sure. I know at the very least I get garlic every other week, so we go through it pretty fast. But now that I know that you're not really supposed to store garlic in the refrigerator, I'm not going to be doing that anymore. The way that you are supposed to be storing garlic is out in room temperature and putting it in a container that allows airflow. I'm not really sure why exactly, but you are supposed to leave it in something that isn't an airtight container. I don't know if it's because of the moisture and then it'll lose the moisture once it's in an airtight container. I have no idea. And it looks like most of my garlic is finely chopped. It looks all pretty even to me. So I think next we grab a piece of parchment paper and lay all this garlic out. We also want to make sure that it is all laid out evenly on the piece of parchment paper, just to ensure that each little piece gets touched. The lowest temperature on my confection oven setting was 300. That's a little bit of a bummer, but I set it to warm. It's not telling me what the temperature is at or what it's going to be at. I did Google it and it said that typically a warm setting is set for 170 to 200. So that's still a little hot. But you know what? I want to try it anyways. I want to see if it works. So we're going to put this little piece of parchment paper in here. Oh my goodness. The garlic fell to the bottom. And try and get this out of here. Oh gosh, it's okay. All right, we have all of our garlic in this bag. I'm gonna write today's date, which is the 2nd of September, for 6 months in the freezer. I am so happy I get to at least freeze this much garlic. And then with these two, I'm gonna do another honey garlic ferment, and then I'm also going to do a pickled garlic. So those two will be fun. But I have to get through all this garlic first. Our timer went off, so we're gonna go ahead and take out this garlic. And what they say to do next is to just rotate the garlic and then put it into a thin layer again, a thin even layer. I can already tell that this is starting to get dry, which is wonderful. I really hope this is working. It's not turning brown too much, except for the tiny little pieces, like the crumb sized pieces. And so if this works, I might want to turn a little bit more garlic into garlic powder. So I think this is pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and even it back out. And then try to stick it back in the oven without spilling. I'm gonna put it on the bottom rack this time, just so it's further away from the top to kind of prevent the garlic from burning. Set a timer for another 30 minutes and we'll just keep slowly checking on it. I have finally finished the rest of the garlic. It didn't take me as long as I thought it was going to. And so I'm really glad. It only took me about an hour, I believe. Maybe an hour and a half. And in the meantime, while our garlic in our oven is still trying to dry, which by the way looks like it's almost done, we're gonna start on the next project. The next project is our pickling garlic. This recipe is for 4 pints, and I don't want to make 4 pints. I just want to make 1. I think this is 1 pint. I'm cutting the recipe in half. So 1/4 of a cup, and I'm reading off of their recipe, 1/4 of a cup of canning salt. Half of that would be 1/8 of a cup, and that would be 34 grams. 5 cups of white vinegar, and half of 5 cups would be 2.5 cups. And then 2 pounds of fresh garlic, which would only be 1. And then crushed red pepper and some dill. I'm not going to use dill. I'm probably just going to use crushed red pepper. And I rinse the jars to make sure that they are clean. And then we're going to go ahead and get started on this recipe. In a large saucepan, we're going to put in our 34 grams of salt. And then our 2.5 cups of vinegar. We're going to bring this up to a boil, and after it's reached boiling, we're going to let it simmer for about 10 minutes or until it reaches 180 degrees. I'm checking on the garlic and I'm rotating it. I'm rotating it again. I want to put it in for maybe another 30 minutes, but it is almost done. I took a bite, or I ate a piece, and the outside is definitely dehydrated, but the inside of the piece I ate was still moist in there. And so I want to make sure that these are fully dry. So we're gonna throw them in for another 30 minutes. Our water is boiling, so now we're going to go ahead and turn it all the way down and then let it simmer for about 10 minutes. So when our timer reaches 18, then this will be all ready to pour over the garlic. Now we're gonna pack our garlic into our jar, and the recipe does say for each jar you can do 8 ounces per jar, leaving 1/2 inch of headspace. So I have my scale just so I can measure accurately. We're just gonna go ahead and fill this until it gets to 8. I might not even have enough. It does say to leave 1/2 inch of headspace, and I think that is about 1/2 inch of headspace, and this is 6.5 ounces. So now all we gotta do is add the red pepper flakes in here. The kitchen, oh my gosh, is so strong from the vinegar. It's kind of like when you cook a bunch of peppers or pepper and it gets spicy in the kitchen. Like you can just feel the air spicy. I don't know, it's weird. This is what we're left with for our garlic. This is what we're left with our garlic. This is not enough to make a honey garlic ferment, but I did make a video on making my last honey garlic ferment, so I'll link that video below. I think with this garlic, we will be able to use this up in a day or 2. So this won't go bad, but I feel super accomplished. I got all of that garlic in the freezer. I got all of it peeled. The hardest part of this project was peeling all of that garlic. It wasn't hard, but it was tedious. This freeze drying, or this dehydrating garlic Now I'm not sure how it's gonna turn out. I really hope it does, because that would be pretty cool. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and so is this pickling recipe for our garlic. But I am tired. And my throat. I have to get out of the kitchen for a minute because this vinegar is really strong. Holy moly. Our vinegar salt solution is up to temperature, so now I'm just going to pour it over our jar, and we want to leave a 1/2 inch of headspace. So maybe like that. The recipe says to remove air bubbles and to clean the jar rims, center lids on jars and adjust band to finger tight. After we're done removing air bubbles, we want to chill in the refrigerator until it is pickled. At least 3 weeks, and you can store for up to 4 months. So our pickled garlic is basically done. I mean, it's not done, but it's done, but not done. So in total, I believe I threw the garlic in the oven for a total of maybe 3.5 to 4 hours. And then I gave up on the garlic and I just put it in a bowl, and it ended up sitting on my oven for maybe 2 days and I didn't touch it. I kind of gave up on it, but then I put it in like a dark, cool place, and it seemed like it dried all the way through. So here I am just smashing it in this brick and mortar, I think it's called. I was gonna run it through my coffee grinder, but I then would have to clean all the coffee grounds out of there, and I was a little too lazy. And just for visual purposes, I kind of wanted to do it this way too. It worked pretty well. It took a lot of muscle and arm work, and it took me about 10 minutes of mashing and twirling, but I did eventually get it to a fine powder. There are still some like a little bit of chunks in there, but for the most part it is all grounded up into a fine powder, and I'm super glad I did it this way. And the smell of it was just super strong, and it really smelled like garlic, and the color might be a little bit darker than what you would buy at the store, their garlic powder. So I'm not sure if I really burnt it at all, maybe just a little bit, but it didn't taste burnt. I tasted a couple chunks in it. It tasted exactly like I had a little bit of garlic powder, which is very strong. But all in all, it ended up working out okay. Would I do it again? Maybe not. But now, for future reference, if I did need to do it, or if I didn't really feel like spending money on garlic powder, then I could totally do it. So now I know how to do it, and I have the technique under my belt, which is kind of fun, and I get to say that I've made my own garlic powder. So that's pretty exciting. I ended up finding an old recycled garlic powder container, so that was perfect. I just ended up using this. I didn't end up making a lot of garlic powder, but I still made garlic powder, so that's all that matters. I hope you guys enjoyed spending this time with me and doing this little experiment, and I cannot wait to see you guys next time. Bye!